We are only a month into 2025 and it's already looking fabulous for RTS Games and us as their fans, so as we take a look at never before seen games in development, recent releases, some of which graduated from early access, or their demos and content updates, let's start with Masada. This is a single-player open-world RTS inspired by Homeworld and mixed with RPG elements from Kenshi. These indie developers are making their fleet-based space sci-fi game in the Unreal Engine, and because of this they have recently expanded their team with 2 Homeworld modders, one of which is very familiar with this engine. They made projectiles and beams simulated as to hit anything on their path, while ships have separate subsystems with their own HP pools, and damage to them affects ship capabilities like flight or combat. A demo of Masada is already planned and being worked on, while the developer's Discord server, which I have linked in the description, along with the Steam store page, is a great place to see and learn a lot more about this promising project. From the footage, screenshots and art I have seen, I am most amazed by how much they have already nailed the scale, atmosphere and look of a proper space opera and already have some flying formation basics in place. But as they themselves say, a lot of the elements like music, UI, effects and others are very much work in progress, or just placeholders. What we can do is to wishlist Masada on Steam, share their game with others, and give our feedback on the available content. Another indie project that is being developed in the Unreal Engine is the modern RTS with base building called Defcon Zero. And yes, its inspiration are Command and Conquer games. The latest footage showcases their base building animations, terrain and some units, all of which is a work in progress. Many of you who often tell me in the comments how you dislike it when infantry units are bigger than the buildings they come out of are finally going to be happy with the scale of at least one game. And the talented developers might even move infantry units from individuals to squads, as well as to add animations to most of the buildings once they are constructed. One more interesting detail about the base building in Defcon Zero is that we will be able to switch between using a grid, rotation by angle, and totally free placement. What I instantly liked was how they have combined pre-existing buildings and map objects with the base the player is building. This was usually in place with the old RTS games, especially the CNC ones, and I always found it really nice to make the world feel more believable and have that lived-in appearance. You can read more about their recent additions to the game, like a ballistic system for tanks and infantry on their Discord server, which I have linked down in the description. If you are a fan of fantasy, there is such a new RTS on the horizon too, and it's titled Wartorn. Its indie devs have mixed RPG and roguelike elements into action and unit combat, but there doesn't seem to be any base building. The gameplay is based on unit squads, which can be goblins, elves, demons, tree folk, and other monsters and fantasy creatures, each with different characteristics and unique abilities. You bring these with you from battle to battle in the form of a traveling caravan while learning their possible combos and abilities they can use in combat. Wartorn is designed to be a single-player experience with a campaign where you play as 2 sisters who have been driven from their home and must traverse the map to reach the safety of their ancestral fortress. It might not have all the RTS elements we are used to, but a good storytelling experience can make up for a lot of that, at least in my book. But I would love to hear what you think about that in the comments below. Since Command & Conquer games inspire several dozen indie RTS developers per year, I should also show you Project 37, a solo indie game which already had a demo. Units range from attack dogs and tanks to battleships and helicopters with wild superpowers, like teleportation of an entire fleet, water included to land, and the obligatory nuke and particle cannon from space. What is very different is the way this developer has created a lane-based control scheme, meaning you send units down one of these lanes set on the battlefield and they fight on their own, letting you plan future attacks and build up your army. You can call in airstrikes and paratroopers, while there is a tech tree with upgrades for these, and the developer plans to have a professionally written narrative campaign. For now, however, mission briefings and the voices are generated using AI. What I most like about this game is that the developer of Project 37 is trying to do something different while still keeping many familiar elements, something that can work well to connect both old and new audiences. Now I know many of you are hotly anticipating the release of Falling Frontier, but year after year the game keeps getting delayed and there hasn't been a proper release of news about it for about a year now. This is in fact the most recent gameplay video and it is from the 16th of July last year.
Logistics online.
The main developer stated how he had to move the release date to 2025, but I honestly doubt it will be released in 2026 at this rate, let alone in 2025.
Supply destination coming online.
I want to be wrong on this one, but there just doesn't seem to be enough development done on the game, which only makes it easier for other indie developers to jump on this opportunity and create games that look or play like Falling Frontier. Something the developers of Dynasty Protocol seem to have done, and they are not the only ones. So in this game you build modular space stations and shipyards, establish colonies, start mining operations on resource-rich asteroids, and then transport these resources between colonies and outposts. These distribution networks then need protection, for which you use fleets of ships in dynamic combat, with a system of experience gathering and armor as well as weapon upgrades. Some colonies are said to have specific super weapons. Ships do have dark matter jump technology, so you can deploy one or more ships instantly to another sector if under attack. I think it is all a bit too rough yet, but there is potential in this game, depending on how well all these systems work together and when they actually publish it. A free open source ancient warfare game you can already play and which has been in development by its indie team for a very long time is Zero AD, and no, it isn't on Steam yet, but this is its last alpha update as the devs are moving into the beta stage. What this update includes is the Vulkan rendering for the engine, upscaling and downscaling support, saving games in the multiplayer, a full overhaul of the naval combat, addition of flares for observers in matches, new art and updates to the old one, as well as new maps and another dozen updates. There is even an option named GPU skinning now, which is making a huge impact to the frame rate by allowing you to delegate model skinning to your GPU. If you have never heard of this game before, you should know it has a wealth of great features like unit formations in the form of phalanx or testudo. Each civilization is unique in its appearance and gameplay, including units, structures and technology trees. Some infantry and cavalry units can gather resources, and there is an experience system for combat units, making them stronger as they rank up. I am just scratching the surface here, of course, so I hope you will give Zero AD a chance. Their official website is linked down in the description. A very different and totally new indie action RTS is Project Citadel. Here too, the base building is switched for roguelike features, including replayability and procedurally generated maps, while the main gameplay is based on spaceship squadron management and skill shot special abilities. Customization is a key concept in this game, as you get to build your own fleet of separate squadrons by choosing from a diverse array of ships. These can be upgraded, and there is even a turn-based separate layer for managing your campaign progress. There is a mothership of sorts, and the game will be playable using a controller in addition to the regular mouse and keyboard. Now, as I have been trying to teach my own kid the joys of Heroes of Might and Magic, another developer team has been trying to create a new type of such a game, but mixing real-time with 4X and God game elements in a title they're calling Atre Dominance Wars. In this latest footage they have sent me, we can see their original and dynamic world in action, unique races which live, fight and die here, as well as how the main map graphics look like. On their store page I have linked down below, you can read more about their level editor and the race of men. It will still be a while before we can test out its diplomacy, economy management, technology research, crafting and combat gameplay, but as someone who grew up on Heroes of Might and Magic, I just had to share this game with you and its progress. And interestingly enough, another blast from the past is coming from the developers best known for the Stronghold franchise, as the team at Firefly Studio is bringing us a definite edition of the original Stronghold Crusader. We even had a demo of this to try out for a few weeks, while this new edition brings 8 new playable units, 4 new enemy lords to defeat and 2 new campaigns. Best of all, there is up to 8-player skirmish and even a co-op mode to play with friends. The improved features also include larger map sizes, custom options and quality of life improvements, new multiplayer maps, workshop support for custom scenarios and new graphics. All of this is going to be available on the 15th of July.
Our ancestors lived on a faraway island in peace and harmony.
A similar, upgraded version of an old game which has been in early access for several years but graduated to full release just recently is what we have in the Zen edition of Battle Realms. This is a classic fantasy RTS which had a very unique unit training and unit class combining feature, which makes it stand out even decades after original release. This Zen edition has working multiplayer, the visuals have been improved, support for modern systems and resolutions implemented, as well as a gameplay balance overhaul and fixes for many old problems. But this isn't where development stops, and more features and improvements are planned. I can vouch for the activity of its multiplayer community as I have played in it several times over the years. There are custom maps and modes to play in, tutorials to learn how to build bases, collect resources, train units, and combine training in different buildings for the same unit, as well as 2 storytelling campaigns to play through. There is actually another game from that era that was redone and published on Steam recently, but which I missed, and want to thank one of my viewers for bringing it to my attention. This is the Legate edition of Perimeter, an RTS with a particularly interesting and rarely seen gameplay style. Here you can transform the map terrain to gather energy, build bases and defenses, then you use it as an offensive tool or a resource to improve your base, while combating not just a deadly enemy but also the planet's geological processes. There is a huge story and a long timeline with multiple characters who you embody during your playthrough and see the events unfold from multiple perspectives. This version includes the Emperor's Testament expansion of sorts, as well as a wealth of modern features to make it playable on today's systems and in the multiplayer. And speaking of already available games on Steam, I should mention some that are on sale right now. 2 of these are classics, like Men RTS for example, a game about plastic toy soldiers we used to play with at home but turned into an RTS PC game with base building, resource management and hilarious battles in 3 game modes. The other classic is Metal Fatigue, a very old game, yes, but one of the first proper base building RTS, and incredible for its battles, which would be hosted simultaneously in orbit, on the surface, and even underground between 3 factions equipped with huge mechs and vehicles. The last Steam sale recommendation is Taur, an unassuming tower defense RTS which never made large waves when it came out a while back, but one of the rare such games I ever enjoyed playing, mostly because of its very dynamic battles, including many types of land and air units. On the Epic Store there is a huge sale. In fact, it's so big there are dozens of titles I could recommend to you, so I will pick a few that are most discounted to talk about, and you might not have these in your online libraries, but I will add links to even more games on sale down in the description. On a 90% sale are both Homeworld Remastered Collection and Homeworld Deserts of Kharak, meaning you can snatch almost the entire franchise during one sale, except you would have to go to GOG to get the less known Cataclysm spin-off, which is called Emergence there. For a very different RTS experience, you can buy The Great War Western Front, one of the rare RTS games to use the First World War as their main theme. There hasn't been any new content for it, so you get everything with one purchase. Knights of Honor 2 Sovereign sends you even further into the past for a game that reminds of Total War because of its battles, but the main map gameplay is also in real time. There is a wealth of historical factions to play with, a huge map and multiple starting dates. SpellForce 3 Reforced is also highly discounted and another very different RTS game because of its heavy mixing with the RPG elements, including your own hero you can create and customize, choosing between distinct skill trees. Lastly, I want to mention Dust Fleet, a space RTS which has two gameplay layers. One is with dynamic fleet battles, while the other is a management-focused layer with a map of star systems you control and can conquer.
Auto command uplink initializing. Please stand by.
When it comes to Tempest Rising, I can show you the latest trailer, which not only shows the third and very much alien faction, but also serves as a call to action for pre-orders. Now, I personally got burned by pre-ordering SimCity 2013 and Total War Rome 2 more than a decade ago, and since then my personal policy is no pre-ordering. You do you. What I can do is to tell you what is part of the pre-order package. The usual elements are a digital art book and the soundtrack, with the ability to play the game 7 days early if you get the more expensive Deluxe Edition. The last common element is something called the Commander Pack, and it is included in the cheaper pre-order version too, that one being called Standard Edition. What is in the Commander Pack are a building skin, custom unit selection frames, cursor and menu UI design. Known details about the alien race of Veti is that they will be part of the single-player story, but we have yet to get confirmation about them being a playable faction. I have made many videos on Tempest Rising already and will publish more as we get closer to the full release on the 24th of April.
All must find peace with the mandate of heaven.
Another available pre-order is for the first expansion of Age of Mythology Retold, titled Immortal Pillars, which will be launched on the 4th of March. But maybe more importantly, on the same day, the game becomes playable on PlayStation 5, making this a rare RTS playable on almost all platforms and with crossplay enabled. The main content of Immortal Pillars is Chinese mythology, meaning an entire new pantheon of gods, their powers, and totally fresh mythical units playable in a full new campaign and other modes. Do note that if you already own the Age of Mythology Retold Premium Edition, you will receive this expansion for free. It is worth noting that Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition will also become playable on the PlayStation 5 on the 4th of March, bringing yet another fantastic old-school RTS experience cloaked with a fresh cape of modern updates to that console system. Since Age of Empires is such a long-standing franchise, I really need to go through the other sequels and news about them as well. So when it comes to Age of Empires 3 and its Definitive Edition, only bad news, I'm afraid. Despite the announcement that there is going to be a new DLC for this game, the developers and publisher have issued a statement saying how they had to cancel it and that the announcement itself was premature. They do promise to maintain the servers, make different civilizations available in the free trial version, and to provide what they call customer service, but what we usually call life support. The question that now remains is when, not if, will they pull the plug on that too. For better news, we have to look to Age of Empires 4, because during 2025 we can expect not just one, but two new DLCs for that game. The first one will be titled Knights of Cross and Rose, and they are targeting a spring launch. What will the content of this one be? Not exactly known, except that there will be two factions and a sort of single-player challenge mode. Generally, the plan is for these DLCs to bring variant civilizations. What this concept describes is the developers reusing gameplay ideas from previous civilizations, but changing them significantly enough to become their own new thing. Also, they will be adding new units and buildings, as well as updating the visuals of many shared units and buildings to make them both feel and look unique. Now for a taste of something utterly different and new, I should talk about the demo of Unnatural Worlds we all had an opportunity to play. Not sure how many of you tried it, but I did, and it was very unconventional, but also still very early. What this rough indie gem is trying to show you is how playing on square maps with finite borders has gotten really stale, and we should start thinking about playing on spheres, or maybe potatoes, gears, or just write out misshapen lumps of space rock. Also, maybe adding logistics to the base building aspect with different materials, recipes and production with physical transportation might just spice things up and deliver a fresh RTS experience. For me, it was an unforgettable demo, and it really did feel like a new way of playing my favorite genre. So, I hope to talk about this game much more in future videos, and if you have played and enjoyed this one or some other demo during Steam's first ever RTS Fest, do let me know down in the comments.
Yes, sir.
Another such demo I enjoyed, but for completely different reasons, was Crown of Greed. I mentioned it before in my videos, but this time I was able to play an entire mission or quest or level, however you want to call it, and it brought a smile to my face because of just how much it reminded me of playing the original Majesty game. This is a type of a game where you relinquish direct control over units, heroes to be more precise, and manage your little kingdom through base building, upgrades, and by setting up bounties with gold as incentive for your roaming heroes. The graphics do leave a bit to be desired, and it is a bit clunky in the gameplay execution, meaning it should benefit more from the past 20 years of game development improvements, but the core gameplay has hit that sweet spot of making you feel in control without actually being able to micromanage your units. It is really a special feeling, and I hope more of you will try it out in the future.
This is the place we have been searching for.
Since recently we had several new RTS game releases, I want to mention a few, starting with Age of Darkness Final Stand exiting its early access with not just survival modes and the full campaign, but with co-op multiplayer added to it. Despite its incredible features like tens of thousands of potential monsters and humans fighting on the same map, heroes with special abilities and a unique system of buffs and debuffs, the main issue of this roguelike dark fantasy survival RTS is the pathfinding of units and or low performance expressed by more than a few players. Having not played this latest version myself, I can't judge, but feel obligated to mention such issues. The developers are on top of this, however, so I have faith they will sort this out with patches.
We've received militant tribute from the rebellion. We're here to help you defend this town.
Another recent release I haven't managed to play enough of yet is Welcome Back Commander, which does still offer a demo on its Steam store page. Its indie developer has been releasing updates, 4 already, in trying to keep up with feedback from new players. Its squad-based real-time tactical combat is spiced up with not just roguelike, but also heavy use of Lovecraftian and horror elements. There is a lot of looting to be done in missions and customization of your squad outside of them. The art is great in this one, and the gameplay loop can get you hooked, especially due to random elements which keep things fresh, but can also give you an unfair challenge just when you didn't need one in your playthrough. The third recent release is Annihilate the Spance, which is based on space combat between huge autonomous fleets you build up yourself from shipyards and bases custom designed and built section by section. Its full campaign, made up of over 40 missions, is just a warm-up for you, after which you can play in the custom skirmish matches and spend time designing your own using the same level editor the developers used to create this game. This one I managed to play more than the others, but still not enough to post my full impressions, which I plan to do soon. The small indie team of 3 devs managed to complete this game in 4 years, but still have lots of ideas for additional content building upon the 3 unique factions and many different spaceship types already in the game. Now I need to take a few minutes to talk about Relic Entertainment, their future after splitting from the publisher Sega, and their work on Company of Heroes 3, as well as recent rumors of Dawn of War 4. To start with the most obvious news, Company of Heroes is getting a new DLC titled Fire and Steel, whose content is 4 battle groups, 1 for each faction, playable in multiplayer and co-op, as well as skirmish vs AI. What is packed in these battle groups are super heavy tanks like the Churchill Crocodile and King Tiger, along with specialist units with their own abilities. This DLC is going to cost around $25 and is planned for release at the end of February. I personally don't play this game outside free trials, as I never even found the time to properly go through the previous sequel, but I am not sure what to think of the price versus content balance, especially when you consider everything else I have to talk about on the subject of these developers and their IPs. You can tell me your opinion on the value of such a DLC in the comments below. So, just recently, Relic Entertainment has shared some of their plans for future game development and the 2 main franchises they own, meaning Company of Heroes and Dawn of War. Besides the regular company talk of saying a lot without much meaning, they have laid out plans to support already released games while planning on more new ones, both small and large projects. What is even more interesting is that they want to explore both making new games even in other genres while also creating new versions of their classic games. Translation: risky projects mixed with bulletproof re-releases or remasters. I honestly hope we see them cement goodwill with gamers and positive bank accounts with profitable, non-predatory expansion packs and proper remasters first, before testing out totally new waters. And this is where a potential Dawn of War 4 fits in, especially with a hungry audience and some recent surveys that hint about such a game being in development. I just don't know why they skipped the number 3, since we are all still waiting for an actual Dawn of War 3 game, considering that train wreck that was published some years ago using the Dawn of War IP and not much else from the previous games. When I asked my viewers about what kind of gameplay Dawn of War 4 should have, the overwhelming majority voted for what is basically an improved version of the original Dawn of War, just with modern graphics. This is something a regular remaster or remake could do for us, so I hope an actual sequel brings a new gameplay style, but based on base building and unit combat of the original game. The Warhammer 40k lore is home to probably one of the deepest fictional universes in existence, so there are endless possibilities, from supporting titans on planetary conquest to clearing out moon-sized battle stations or gigantic battle barges. Godsworn is another indie RTS which has been receiving new content constantly, and now we have 2 new maps and even a different game mode reminiscent of old school Warcraft 3 mods, along with a host of regular updates and changes. Because in the Guardians of Trident, an otherwise 2v2 skirmish map, you play in a challenge mode using only your hero, joining one side in order to help them break the stalemate and win. Here, heroes who can turn enemies into friendly units excel due to the fact you can't train units and only convert them from the enemy's army. The other new addition is a 7-player skirmish map with an additional player versus the environment element, because there is a fort on the map which sends out raiders to attack each player. If you manage to beat these creeps and destroy their base, you can free up several gold mines just for yourself. Each time I turn on Godsworn just to check out these updates, I end up playing it for hours, which speaks volumes on how enjoyable this game is even in early access.
Take care of things.
Now I have a confession to make. There is one free RTS game made by a few indie enthusiasts which is like a drug for me. I have stayed up until the middle of the night playing its 8v8 multiplayer lobbies more times than for any other game for the past decade. This is beyond all reason, and when I want to make more videos for my channel, I literally have to uninstall it from my PC. I have talked about it before, posted video tutorials on it, so this time I want to show you the latest content the developers plan to add to it. These are examples of the new screen space ray traced lights which don't even have a big performance hit on the game. This is just part of the upcoming major graphic upgrade, bringing in many new shader effects, light improvements, and the highly anticipated official support for a night mode. The developers of BAR recently organized a stream on their official channels, which lasted for more than 24 hours, hosted by a dozen content creators for BAR, me included, where they pushed the game to its breaking point with 160 player matches and around 15,000 units. Yes, 160 players in one online RTS match. If that isn't a new and unique spin on real-time strategy games, I don't know what would be. I know I already showed you one Majesty-like game in this video, but there is actually one more in development, and that is Lessaria Fantasy Kingdom Sim. A special way these developers decided to push the nostalgia buttons of us all Majesty fans is by employing the very same voice actor who recorded the advisor lines for the original game series. This is a special type of RTS game where you manage more than you control, while your heroes and guards protect your tax collectors and slay monsters and enemies across the map. Indirect control is of course not everyone's cup of tea, and luckily these devs are trying to upgrade and change the experience to hopefully bring more players into the game. For example, they are changing the combat and economy systems as well as focusing on hero squads rather than individuals and creating a threat mechanic. This game has an active playtest you can join on its Steam store page, and you can find the link to it in the description below along with all the other games I have been talking about.
The historians of tomorrow might see this as atrocious. They might think we are war criminals. The only way humanity could hope to survive is by weaponizing these magnificent creatures. Perhaps one day they will forgive us. For now, we must survive.
Another new demo I have managed to play during the Steam's RTS Fest was of Moduwar, a very unique game I have talked about before, which is based on an alien creature called Modu, which is completely organic and is able to rapidly grow additional organs and appendages around its heart. This game blends base building and units into the same thing, and the demo had both an arena-style mode and an example of a campaign mission, while the full game will offer skirmish and multiplayer as well. Moduwar is made with a storytelling campaign in mind and even has actors delivering lines in FMV-like briefings.
Finally, I get to see you in the flesh. Nicely done, Modu.
RTS players often say they want a new experience. Well, here is one. I expect to see you on launch. And speaking of new experiences, a persistent online survival RTS would definitely be one. These indie devs have dared to dream big because they want players to be able to have big armies and epic battles on an alien world where human colonists had to revert to ancient weaponry. So in Coloniser you still have base building, resource management and research of tech, but you also go through different eras as time passes, even while you're offline during week-long playthroughs. To keep things civilized, you will be able to form custom worlds and servers, as well as to set up your own rules for matches with friends or private groups of players. There are already several factions in the works, and the stylized graphics are such by design. Now the funny thing is, I actually have enough RTS news to keep talking for another half an hour, but I have to stop before my voice gives out, so I will post another video like this one next week. Until then, use the cards on the screen or links in the description for more RTS related videos. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!